Thanks to the conference organizers and the Institute for Critical Animal Studies and MCTC for hosting this really important and insightful conference. In a 2010 article in the UK newspaper The Guardian, the utilitarian philosopher and animal ethicist Peter Singer laments the Chief Minister of Malacca's recent approval, which allowed for the Indian company Vivo Biosciences Incorporated to build an animal research laboratory in the Malaysian state. Responding to animal rights activists' subsequent protests of this decision, due in part to the lack of regulations protecting lab animals in Malaysia, the Chief Minister proceeded to deploy what has become a standard claim made by many proponents of mainstream interpretations of the world's monotheistic religious traditions. Essentially, the claim is that God has created non-human animals solely for the benefit of humanity. Hence, we as a species may use these animals to our advantage in any way that we see fit, regardless of the suffering and mistreatment that the animals experience as a result. Singer goes on to extrapolate from this particular event as an illustration of the pervasive influence that religion has had on real-world decisions regarding ethical issues. And he describes this influence as being, quote-unquote, generally regressive. While recognizing the advances that have been made regarding human perceptions of animals in the last century, Singer points out that we do not have religious influence to thank for this. While briefly acknowledging the existence of religious views which are more sympathetic to humane treatment of animals, Singer emphasizes what he takes to be the overwhelmingly negative influence of religious tradition in encouraging and justifying the domination of humans over the rest of nature, in this case, the domination of non-human animals in particular. The views expressed by Singer regarding the negative influence of religion in terms of the treatment of and attitudes toward animals have become widespread throughout animal ethics and animal activism. A recent study, for example, shows that most animal rights activists are not religious, but instead consider themselves to be atheists or agnostic. There are certain facets of this view of religion which are warranted. Historically, there are a number of observable instances where religion has been used to justify the subjugation of animals, as well as women, the environment, and various groups of people. At the same time, the view that religious influence is wholly ineffective as a means to improving treatment of and attitudes toward non-human animals is quite narrow, and it's important to consider alternative ways of envisioning the relationship between religion and animals. In this presentation, I provide a critique of the view that religion is inherently detrimental to human-animal relations. Given the reductive nature of the view of religion as harmful, the prevalence of religion in society, and the sympathetic views of animals which already exist within various religious traditions, there's good pragmatic reason to emphasize the usefulness of religious influence to improve treatment of animals and perspectives on the relationship between human and non-human animals. A failure to emphasize the positive aspects of religious influence regarding animals may delay and increase the difficulty of improving human-animal relationships, and would certainly be a waste of a viable avenue for such improvements. While positive changes have been made as a result of secular animal ethics and the animal rights movement, a pluralistic approach which incorporates and utilizes a variety of viewpoints, including religious ones, has the potential to be even more effective given the large demographic which may otherwise be neglected. One critique of the view that religion is detrimental to human-animal relations is that this treats religion as a singular entity, when in reality this is obviously not the case. As can be observed throughout the social sciences, it's been notoriously difficult to provide an adequate definition of religion, to delineate the boundary between what should and should not count as a religion. In the West, religion is often used to refer to the dominant monotheistic Abrahamic religions, namely Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Of course, such use of the term excludes polytheistic and non-theistic religions, such as Hinduism and Buddhism, respectively. Some scholars have argued that religion should be defined functionally, where religions are recognized as such depending on what they do, that is, depending on their social and psychological roles. For example, sociologist Robert Bellah has defined religion as, quote, a set of symbolic forms and acts which relate man to the ultimate condition of his existence, end quote. As an aside, some work has been done by recent scholars which attempts to view the animal rights movement as a religion by viewing religion in functional terms. And so it can be seen that functional definitions entail quite an inclusive approach as to what does and does not count as a religion. Alternately, attempts have also been made to define religion substantively, where the criteria for marking religions from non-religions essentially depends on a potential religion's believed contents. This method of definition is somewhat less encompassing than a functional approach, and includes belief systems which involve transcendent and meta-empirical entities, such as God, gods, supernatural beings or worlds, and the Hindu law of karma. My main point in discussing these different approaches to defining religion is that the view that religion just is detrimental to human-animal relations involves a major oversimplification of what religion is. There's not only great variation in attitudes toward non-human animals between different religions, but also often disagreement and contradiction within different religious traditions, as well as within subsets of particular religions. Taking this high degree of variation into account often makes it difficult or impossible to confidently say much of anything about the overall contents or consequences of religion and religious belief in general. While religion has been difficult to define, the current available data regarding conventionally accepted religions, substantively defined, strengthens my argument that animal advocates and ethicists should utilize these belief systems and traditions in order to emphasize interpretations and perspectives which are more sympathetic towards improving the treatment of animals and attitudes towards human-animal relationships. In particular, statistics presented in the CIA World Factbook demonstrate the prevalence of religious adherence worldwide as well as within specific countries. As of 2010, 88.33% of the roughly 7 billion people in the world claim to adhere to a religion, with the remaining percentage of people claiming to be either atheist or non-religious. 33.39% of the world population claims to be Christian, with this category combining Roman Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox, and Anglican subsets. An additional 22.74% of the world population claims to be Muslim. Figures for the United States, as expected, lean even more heavily towards Christianity, with 51.3% of the U.S. population claiming to be Protestant and 23.9% claiming to be Roman Catholic. So, well over half the world population adheres to some version of monotheism, while the vast majority of U.S. citizens adhere to some version of Christianity. It's important to keep in mind here that most or all religious traditions have in common a tendency to provide their adherents with some degree of moral guidance. Depending on which religion one is observing, this guidance sometimes consists of strict authoritarian commands and obligations, and sometimes emphasizes the importance of context and intuition in the development of individuals' ethical decision-making skills. Additionally, many religions make explicit reference to human-animal relationships, providing guidance and prescription for how humans should act in regards to non-human animals. Such prescription is, of course, undergirded by metaphysical views about the nature of humans and non-human animals, and the relationships in which they stand to one another. These views have a direct effect on the way in which people act in the world, as well as how they see and experience the world, including their perceptions of human-animal relationships. At the same time, as mentioned above, there continues to be debate and alternate interpretations about animal ethics within particular religions and subsets of these traditions. Given the prevalence of religious influence on society, the existence of alternate interpretations of human-animal relationships and ethics, and the potential for new and plausible interpretations, it's paramount that animal advocacy recognize and utilize religious traditions for the sake of improving the lives of animals. However negative the dominant religious views of animals may be, there exists the potential to uncover and share sympathetic religious views of animals which are already a part of these traditions, and which have the potential to influence religious adherence. In response to Singer's aforementioned article in The Guardian, Amin Saju published an article in the same newspaper 2 days after Singer's piece, where he makes great strides towards raising awareness about the animal ethic which exists in many religious traditions, while also granting that religion can and has historically been co-opted by politicians and others in power to further their own self-aggrandizing ends. Saju writes, while, quote, "there is no shortage of people who read into the Quran or the Bible whatever it is that suits their agenda, it may interest Singer and the Malaysian chief minister that there are, in fact, numerous Muslim foundational traditions that hold humans fully accountable for their conduct toward animals," end quote. Singer, in